So it's been really interesting to see the comeback of handheld gaming. We have, of course, the very popular Nintendo Switch, which is the hybrid console and has essentially replaced Nintendo's more traditional handheld market. We have consoles like the Steam Deck, which are extremely popular and essentially now are like portable PCs. And with that, I decided to go back and actually pick up a console I never had when it was popular. I decided to pick up a PlayStation Vita. So this PlayStation Vita I was able to get off of eBay, and it actually came from Japan, and it came complete in box, which was very interesting. So my history with handheld consoles is I used to, be big into the Game Boy. I had a Game Boy Pocket very briefly, but the Game Boy Color had come out. I played the Game Boy Color with my friends extensively. I loved the Game Boy Advance, and by the time we reached the DS era, that's when I started to fall off of handheld gaming. I briefly had a PSP, but then that ended up going to my younger brother, and I never really touched any other handheld gaming consoles again until the Nintendo Switch. However, I do have a 3DS, and I still, from time to time, lately maybe because of nostalgia, have been playing the 3DS using the Game Boy Advance backwards compatible feature, and I get to play the Game Boy Advance on a really nice, vibrant screen, but maybe that's a video for another time. Going back to the PlayStation Vita, I decided to pick it up and check it out. So, I decided to go for the PlayStation Vita 2000 model. There's essentially two models of the PS Vita. One is the 1000 model, and that one actually has an OLED screen, which is pretty remarkable given the fact that the new Nintendo Switch OLED, that's its predominantly new and novel feature, is the fact that it has an OLED screen. The PS Vita really was ahead of its time given the fact that it released with an OLED screen. Now the PS 2000 model, the PS Vita 2000 model, essentially is very similar except it has an LCD screen. It's lighter, it's slimmer, and it has better battery life. So the screen on the PS Vita, it really surprised me. It's a 5-inch screen. I think it's about 960p resolution, but on that form factor, looks really fantastic. The build of the PS Vita actually really shocked me as well. Given the fact that it's over a decade old, it can easily fit in with any type of new technology that we see nowadays. It's built really nicely, feels really good in the hand, really good unibody design, and has a very good form factor to play. It has two analog sticks, a really nice screen, nice bumpers, the traditional PlayStation buttons, and overall feels really good. Now, I can definitely see that playing this for longer periods of time, given the placement of the sticks and the fact that the console itself is pretty small, it can definitely get uncomfortable. However, it's so light, it really has a really classy look and feel to it, so it can very easily fit into the modern gaming setup, which is quite remarkable. Now, secondly, the PlayStation Vita itself has a ton of different games, and the games are starting to become pretty pricey, and because of that, actually there's a big community that has to do with PlayStation Vita hacking. And I didn't get heavily involved in it, but the PS Vita is pretty powerful. And because of that, it can play all different types of games from different console generations, including SNES, Game Boy, PlayStation 1, of course, Vita, PSP. And it's really interesting because the PS Vita actually is ahead of its time. Now, going back to the console itself, it actually has a touchscreen. It has a touchscreen in the front as well as in the back. So a little bit gimmicky, but that was really the thing back in the day. Gimmicks were huge. So PS Vita is a little bit gimmicky. However, just the fact that Sony included all this technology into this handheld device really is quite remarkable. Now, what are my thoughts overall about the PS Vita? It's really good to play, really good to visit. However, now we've gotten a little bit spoiled. I've gotten so used to playing on systems with SSDs that now I feel like the load times just take too long. Some of the games, they heavily rely on the touch capabilities and the gyro sensor and things of that nature. So some of the games are a little bit less to play. I'm not really a big fan of the gimmicks. But honestly, like playing the PlayStation Vita, I really feel like it's a really underrated console. I think people don't really realize how great the PS Vita really was, and I definitely for sure, if I was playing the PS Vita back in its prime, this is a really fantastic console. And it did make me start to think and wonder, given the fact of how Sony has progressed with their technology and with the release of the PlayStation 5, I wonder what kind of handheld console Sony could manufacture if they wanted to get back into the market. It really is intriguing, and overall, comparing this to something like the Nintendo 3DS, although the Nintendo 3DS has a plethora of games, and I personally enjoy those Nintendo games, those handheld versions of the Nintendo games more than some of the games that I've been playing on the Vita, I still think that the plasticky feel of the DS, such as like the DS Lite, the PS Vita just seems way more of a mature console. I can see me taking this out in public transportation and areas like that, and it just, nobody would even bat an eye as compared to something like a 3DS. The only thing I really like about the 3DS is the fact that it has a clamshell design. Even the 2DS also has like this plastic feel to it, but the PS Vita just feels better, looks like a classier product, looks like a more mature product, and overall really makes me intrigued about if PlayStation would ever want to release a handheld console. So let me know your thoughts down below. Would you ever want Sony to release a handheld console? I'll be interested to see your thoughts down below, and until next time.